we are going to move on to the main topic for tonight, which is talking about ACES. And here, let me just bring this up. Again, there is link anything that we talk about, link description below. If you're watching on YouTube for these, even if you're watching live on YouTube right now, the link should be in the description below for you to take a look at. And what we're going to do now, remind me again, Jeremy and Ben, when was this released? Or actually, I probably just looked at it right. December 25th?
December 25th.
December 25th.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, look at that.
It was a Christmas present.
Christmas present.
It was. You're welcome.
Now, would either of you like to read this, or do you want me to read it? I mean, it doesn't really matter too much, but I like the audience to.
I'll read it.
All right. Bring it
So ACES, and then at the top there's our graphic, which Anatar made. Annihilation Compatibility Evaluation Services. Welcome to the home of ACES, where we answer one question. Is this VC unit compatible with the AOA designs? The VC units are all compatible with ClassicScape. As you, dear reader, already know, the revealed AOA units are also compatible with ClassicScape, but are they compatible with each other? Can you trust the AOA units and the VC units not to break anything when used together? That's what we're here to find out. So, shall I keep going?
Yeah,
It's not that.
Yeah.
Who we are? The four ACES are myself, Vidar. I guess it's just 43 or whatever. Anatar and Majora's Incantation, who is Jeremy, who is right there on my screen. What we're doing, our goal with this project is to check the evolving VC expanding universe against the AOA expanded universe and make sure nothing is broken. We aren't looking for power level differences, such as whether a hypothetical VC, quote, captain, close quote, is more valuable in a VC plus AOA tournament than it would be in a VC only tournament. That kind of evaluation is for the players to discover for themselves. We're just looking for brokenness in the form of a unit breaking the competitive metagame or having some unplayable rules interaction. What is brokenness? It means a unit is either wildly overpowered, think S tier, noticeably above A tier, or creates some weird turn looping effect that is not compatible with the rules. Other than that, let the players figure out which unit brings the most value to each format. Let your games be the laboratories. What we hope to accomplish. We want Heroscape players, both at tournaments and their home games, to be able to take advantage of both what the VC offers and what AOA offers, mix them and match them. What we are trying to accomplish, if you don't care what we say because you have your home games and or your tournaments and you can make decisions without any help from us, that's great. Some people like us, or some people like to have a reference to a third party with its own standards. For those people, there's us. We also aren't designing anything or evaluating minis. There are plenty of excellent people doing that important work already. We're just looking at VC units, seeing if they break or are broken by AOA. And if they're compatible, then we're saying so. For example, the Crimson Window has the power higher crew, which lets her turn a unique squad into pirates, which then benefit from her pirate commander ability, giving a +1 to attacks against adjacent figures. The window interacts with Volcamic and Centaurs. Very cool. Is it broken? We haven't formally answered this or any question yet, but the answer is likely going to be no. Cool. Assuming no broken interactions, the Incendiborgs could then get the ACES stamp of approval. What to expect? It's my sense there may be no broken interactions at all now or maybe ever, but there's value in making sure, and that's what we'll do. Because we aren't a workshop making units or anything, we don't have a whole sub-forum. We'll just do our business right here in this thread, and I'll use the post below as a handy summary of our work so far. Welcome.
All right. So that.
Boy, does that sound like something I wrote.
Yeah.
Now this is very interesting. So this is something that like you, Jeremy, and the two other ACES are like currently working on together. I mean, and this is the first question. I'm going to backtrack to the very beginning in a second as well. But just is this something you guys are doing currently, like off and on? What's the work level like for that?
So where it is right now is Anatar, who is really familiar with all the units, both, as far as I could tell, both the AOA and C3V units. Anatar has highlighted a bunch of interactions between, that are worth looking at. And so we're sort of in the early stages of looking at them. And if we discover other interactions as we go, so much the better.
Okay.
It's also something, I mean, if people point something out like, hey, did you guys look at so-and-so? Or, I'd be happy to take public feedback. It's not intended to be, we're not trying to surprise anybody. It certainly could be that I call Doc and say, hey, what do you think about, this competitive issue? I'm not, this isn't something where I'm proclaiming that we are, the best competitive players. We're just doing the work, collecting feedback, formulating it, putting it into, this is our stamp. That's what the main thing we have to offer is, that stamp. This has been examined. It's acceptable, because for some people that's important.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, especially when it comes to tournaments and such. Now,
Yep.
Now I'm going to backtrack a little bit now. How did this get started? What was your original thoughts, Dad Scaper, for this, and how did this all come together?
A number of people, both inside the C3V and outside, were asking during the AOA campaign, what does this mean for the C3V? How are they going to play well together? The answer to that question was a little bit outside, sort of formally, the C3V's mission to answer. We could have expanded two things could have happened. We could have expanded our mission a little bit and sort of dealt with AOA as part of the C3V thing, but that's not really what the C3V does. C3V is a workshop that makes units that are sort of backward compatible. So here are a bunch of new designs, and this is the second thing. Here are a bunch of new designs. They're great. They're also backward compatible. They don't have minis. That's all another thing that C3V does not deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Design without a mini. We start the process with minis. And it's, and they're also sort of designed to different standards. The C3V, the AOA units are designed to a standard that includes unpainted minis. And is that something that we want? I mean, they're different projects. One has the stamp of Hasbro on it. One is the C3V, which does not have the stamp of Hasbro. I could see friction, and some people expressed friction.
Mm-hmm.
There were people inside the C3V who were like, we're not embracing the AOA universe. And I wanted to have a part of the Heroscape universe in which those two things, the answer to mixing those two things could be yes.
Mm-hmm.
And for those people, give them the benefit of that magic stamp that says this is okay.
Mm-hmm. And
hypothetically, let's say there was a broken combination between Age of Annihilation and one of the custom units. Would the ramification be that you just can't use those two units together in an army list? Or would one of them be treated more as being banned for tournament play?
Right. So the way it would work is we'd be certifying the C3V minis. So, let's say in some universe, the Vulcan Mech and Centaborgs, there was an interaction where they were just busted. or maybe I mean, an almost a better example might even be something that created like a turn looping effect where its turn never ended because of some odd interaction. So what we would do is we would stamp the other C3V units, but not that one. The Vulcan mech in Schmendeborgs. So the Vulcan mech in Schmendeborgs would not get that stamp, and therefore, if you were the tournament director and you wanted to say ACES units approved, then someone coming to that tournament would, I suppose, be able to bring all the other C3V units that were ACES approved, but not the Schmendeborg. I think that those units are not, like I said in the original post there, I'm not trying to hide the ball. I think that everything would be approved. Everything currently existing, I think, would be approved. Now, I'm just speaking for myself. I'm not even speaking for Jeremy, who's right here, and he could disagree, but that's just my guess. I don't think there's anything currently busted.
Right. Well, I think it's well as doing your due diligence with things too. So
instead of just that's what we have to do.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
For sure. Now, and Jeremy, get to you in a second, because I'm interested in this. Now, how did you end up asking Jeremy, Dad Scaper, and what got him on your list to be part of this group?
Yeah. So I wanted people who had the following qualifications. I wanted people who I would like to work with. I wanted people who were very knowledgeable. I wanted people who were not already on the War Council or heavily invested in this C3V, like in sort of leadership type roles. And I also had this idea. So that, I mean, that was who I was looking at, and it led. So I talked to a few different people. Not everybody wanted to be involved. I wanted at least one person who was like a tournament director type person. So that's Vidar. He's a tournament director in the Northeast, or the Mid-Atlantic, I should say. But I mean, I wasn't looking for genius players, because if everyone had to be a genius player, then I wouldn't be able to be on it. I'm not that good. Yeah, I wanted people who had the energy, the interest, and the knowledge.
For sure. And Jeremy, so when were you reached out to, and how long did you have to keep this a secret?
Oh yeah. No, he actually. So I think we started talking about it around. Because when did the thing? I think the crowdfund ended November 15th. Was it November 15th?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was about a couple days after that. I think I saw the PM in Heroscapers, and yeah, I was just like, I'm not gonna say anything yet. We'll see how like we were discussing, and we wanted to have like a couple chats before we made it official. So it was really, really funny when Joe was like, I hope somebody starts looking over these things, and I'm just like, like not saying.
Only he knew.
I'm like, man, I can't wait to tell Joe. Like the surprise. Like I was like, yeah, Joe's gonna be excited because. Yeah, he was already talking about, how are we gonna get AOA into tournaments, and so that's kind of one of my things. I would genuinely like to bring AOA units to ScapeCon. Like that would be really cool to do. Naturally, because we're still working out everything, so no rush or anything. But it's like, yeah, I think it's I don't want to kick AOA out, knowing that even though it hasn't, we didn't get any official like physical release, like we did get the cards, and these cards were Craig approved. These cards were War Council approved, so they, to me at least, they are official characters of the Heroscape universe. And so being able to provide that kind of like stamp of approval to so people can be like, yeah, no, I can play these units. ACES approved, so I'll play these units. I'm like, okay, cool. I want to be able to help out with that project. Even like because in the small games I've been doing in my local gaming store in my town, I've been using the Dawn Raider Syndicate in all my playthroughs because I've been trying to get really familiar with the playing the Admiral because I really like his concept, but I need practice because
Yeah,
like
that's a
uh,
touchy. Yeah, that's a great one to have fun playing with.
yeah, I definitely have been having a lot of fun with the pirates. So been playing them against my friends here in the local area. And yeah, my goal is definitely I want to try to test out, for example, I know someone brought up I think it was uh what Chana, the Zenith Wing. They
Yeah.
meant that beast has the ability to heal wizards, right? And specifically, it says wizards, so that means that counts for wizards in VC, it counts wizards in Classic, and then it counts wizards in AOA. So it's like, are there any wizards in VC that with a Chana in their army with the healing, does that make them, you know, a little bit too much? That's an answer we're trying to look to be able to answer, and
Okay.
give people that sort of vote of confidence that yes, don't worry about it. You can play Chana with Murden, or you can play Chana with any of the other wizards in VC, and there won't be any problems. Like we've checked it out. We're good. It's good go. And all those like tiny little interactions that might cause us a bit of concern, we're going to try to figure those out and then get a good list going so that way everyone can use that in their future games. So
Okay.
yeah.
And so there's obviously there's work ongoing for this. And so you guys, from that link that we showed with this announcement, so there'll eventually be information underneath that you'll eventually post on different units and such, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
How soon would we expect more information, do you think?
I think probably my sense is probably not soon.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the heavy lift phase.
Mhm.
Once we get the next phase is all of current, VC units. After that, we only need to deal with them when they come out, when the new ones come out, which is not, as you know, is not that often. The one thing that we're not doing, which I think would make a difference to the ScapeCon and whatever online Heroscape or whoever. One thing we're not doing is we're not addressing the absence of minis. That I think that has to be a different project. That can't be. I don't think anyone on the War Council would want to take that on. I know I wouldn't, because I don't. Well, but I don't think it would be wise to take these units for me and say it's okay that you didn't get them here, use this other mini instead, because sort of officially the project that I worked on didn't fund. So because my name is, because of my relationship with Hasbro, I don't think it makes sense for me to take that step. Which is why, sort of going back, and Jason, this I think goes back to your earlier question. That's why this is sort of a one-way relationship. All I'm looking at is the VC units. What we have of the AOA, units, as far as this project is concerned, and as far as I'm concerned, all we have is exactly what was revealed to us. So right, I'm not tinkering with what Avalon Hill gave us for AOA.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Okay, so that's something that's good to make clear too, that you're primarily focusing on the custom, the VC units, not the OG Heroscape stuff. Correct.
Oh, right. But I mean, if someone else wanted to say, "Hey, I'm going to make if someone not connected to Hasbro could, could proceed with sort of cataloging best fit mini for AOA design, it's just not something I'm comfortable doing."
Okay. Gotcha. And Joe, Jason, any other questions?
Yeah, I'm curious to know, do each of you, because you had mentioned, Ben, about Vidar being, a tournament, person, do each of you have your specific roles for this, or is all of you are essentially, doing the same job, or do each of you have your roles or expertise?
It's all the same.
Yeah, it's like a team effort kind of thing. We're just kind of like looking everything over and seeing if we can catch stuff. And um, I was approached because like I work the work on the Wikipedia and with the lore and the stuff like that, kind of like figuring out the story bits. But you know, I've also recently started playing a lot more often, so it gives me an avenue. I've checked with my friends that I've been playing Heroscape with. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be playtesting some stuff. In the near future, would you be interested in kind of essentially being guinea pig for that? Like, can I throw these enemies at, or can I throw these units at you and see how these work? And so far, pretty positive reactions from everybody. So definitely going to be trying to find those like little things that if they are a cause of concern, we can check them out. And if after a couple plays, I know this it's not that bad of a thing, we can be like, I'll report back to the ACES and be like, hey, so I played this unit in this fight and it didn't really didn't cause any issues. Still felt like a normal Heroscape match, things like that. And then we just take feedback all together, and we're gonna compile it all together and then release our thoughts on those subjects. So, and that's the plan moving forward. Yeah.
Oh,
Granted that.
Oh, go ahead, Jason.
So granted that basically tabletop gamers consider anything they lose to broken. Is there going to be some sort of formal submission process where people could suggest things like, hey, I tried this combination out at a local tournament and I thought it was really brutal. Can you guys look at it?
I would love to have that kind of input from the community. But like I said, like I read out loud from the post at the top, I'm not concerned about A tier level dominant units or even really A plus level dominant units. I'm looking for S tier. Like when it talks about competitive brokenness, I'm looking for something that's S tier, for something
worse than Raylan.
Yeah. Which I did. Oh, I've said and I've said and I've said. I don't think we're likely to find, but I want people to be able to play with confidence.
Sure.
And this ACES stamp of approval. Now, is this going to carry weight in tournaments like ScapeCon, which is the biggest, but as well as other tournaments?
Individual tournament directors have to decide for themselves. I know,
like
Colorado recently had a tournament that included AOA designs. I'm hoping that we help in that regard. I don't know, but I mean, I have no idea what Michael will do or I should say, I have no control over what Michael will do at ScapeCon, and I don't have the kind of influence with him where even if I did ask him to do something, and I wouldn't. All we're doing is we're putting this out there in the world, and what people do with it, I don't know.
All right, for sure. And let's see here. Anything else from you guys?
Yeah, I'm curious too. With what do you look at? I mean, when you talk about S tier, and when you play test with this stuff, or even in general when you play test, do you just have the single unit on the table and you just see, all right, we'll just throw a bunch of Mara Jones. How many Mara Jones does it take out? What do you guys look at with? I mean, obviously do you work it with the other AOA and then you verse it against a whole VC team? Do you mix the VC with Classic Escape? Do you just look at like full on? What is the strongest tournament army out there? We just throw it against that.
Joe, you've been spending too much time with Jason. That was a Jason question.
Oh, okay.
Right? Jason.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Play testing is not something that I think is easily reduced to a formula like that. I mean, most of the interactions, I think we can take a look with the eyeball test and see, well, this isn't going to be that problem. Like higher crew is theoretically a powerful ability, but then you can just go down the list and see what's it to do with this one, what's it do with this one, what's it do with this one. And
Okay.
does it make it more competitive situationally? Yes. Is it worth all the points that you're going to spend on the widow? I don't know. That's a lot of points. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that there's a formula response to identifying an interaction. Mostly, I think, frankly, the eyeball test would be enough for us to be concerned. Then, if we're concerned, it would depend on what the concern is. Yeah.
Okay, so it's just more of just like taking a card in one hand, taking the other card in that hand, and saying, okay, all right.
And
Uh,
if there's more cause of concern, like trying to play against, see if we can do a couple games and see if that's net and see it in action, because it's like, higher crew is honestly the biggest one, because I feel like that has the broadest range, because it's any unique squad can become a pirate.
Sure.
And we already, because we mentioned the Incendiaborgs, because that was actually one of the first concerns that was brought up immediately, was the Incendiaborgs as pirates might be a little broken. So in order to further ascertain that question, it's like, we look it over, and if we need to play the game to see, then we'll play the game. But for the most part, I think we're having internal discussions in the group and being like, well, this is what this will do. Is it a cause for concern? If it's not, then we can move on. But if it's something we really, really got to try and figure out, then we can play a game and see what we need to do about that. And then be like, hey, so we did play a couple games of this. Yeah, it might need to yes or no, and then kind of like work from there. But it's just providing people a I had the word in my head and it's gone. Uh, sense of stability, I guess, and using these units together, where they can just draft their armies and not have to worry about, oh, is this okay? Is this tournament legal or something? It's like, well, we tested it. It's good. We got you. So kind of like that. That's our goal, is
Another
to
good
kind of
avenue
give
of
them a little bit more.
information for people
Hmm.
to know. Basically,
Yeah,
you're
and
doing the work so they
just
don't have
testing
to.
against each other.
And why?
Essentially, yeah.
Because we love. We love the game. And
Heroscape's great,
yeah, we
and
want to
AOA should have came out.
possible.
That's a
that's a whole other thing.
yeah, I know. Just
It just slipped out.
yeah. Whoops.
No, and I think it's a solid venture what you guys are doing, trying to make this work.
Thank you.
As best as possible for people and like the regular tournament play. So I look forward to seeing what you guys provide in the future when it comes to linking up, because I'm just now it's not just AOA units that I'm like looking at. It's also the VC units that I'm still like looking at, and I'm just like, I still need to go through these. So yeah, it'll be interesting to look at those, and definitely like in the future for future podcasts, whenever you guys post something, we'll probably have a discussion about it sometime. So yeah, really
Sounds good.
really do appreciate that. And I know Dad Scaper, I know there was something you were saying a pre-show about VC. Did you want to talk about that before
Sure.
we close?
Yeah. Right. So I stepped down from the C3V. I've been on it since the beginning. At the beginning, I was an editor. That was 2010. When did I join the ERB? It was pretty soon after. I've been on the ERB, I think 11, the Executive Review Board, like the leadership committee. I've been on that, I think, 11 years. And yeah, I had decided that it was time to step down. In fact, I'd been thinking about stepping down before Age of Annihilation. I'm glad. But anyway, now that the dust is all settled from that, I thought the timing had finally arrived. Yeah, it's something that there have been times when I mean, this is going back a few years, 6-7 years. I was really worried about the future of that project, and I was quite frustrated, but I didn't want to step away, because I was worried about what happened if I did. That time has passed. There's a lot of good energy at C3V without me. There's really exciting stuff in the pipeline, and I'm looking forward to it getting out in the public. I think you guys are going to love it. Yeah, game-changing stuff. Cool. But anyway, they don't need me to get it in.
And so does this provide you now more avenues to explore other things, or maybe scale back a little bit, or what's your plans for that when it pertains to Heroscape?
I don't see the ACES project as being one that takes a whole lot of my time. So yeah, I think I'm ready to enter a phase where I'm just sort of more of a fan of the game for now. And I imagine I'll still be around the boards doing my sort of, being my usual presence. I don't anticipate that changing, other than that I won't be that or much of that inside the C3V Inner Sanctum. We still do, we the C3V, the members who have left, retired, stepped out, not all, because some of them who needed to get thrown out through the window, other than the ones who got thrown out through the window, the retirees can all come back in and sort of look around and post sometimes, and many of them do. So yeah, I'll still be doing that sometime.
No harm.
Awesome.
I mean 11 years of work, and I can't imagine just all the brain power it takes. I mean, I've been working personally on Tales of Valhalla for about 7 years now, and I'm just like, it's exhausting. I need a break.
Time is construct.
So I mean, I just can't imagine, because the more I look into VC, the more I'm just like, wow, there is just so much here. And so it started 11 years ago.
It started in 2010.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, right after then. I want to say it was right after the discontinuation.
Okay.
They started it. Because they wanted to follow, if I recall, they wanted to follow in the steps of C3G, which is the one the group that was doing the superhero characters, and they were like, well, if official Heroscape is discontinued, then we're going to do the same thing. And I mean, for me, it's like, seeing that they made that announcement at the discontinuation, and they've been going on since that point. It's like, I mean, that's a crazy amount of time. Like,
It was very close in time. Like, I think the discontinuation was beginning of October, end of September 2010. And it was, well, I'm sure there were private conversations within a few weeks. And by the end of I think the C3V was up maybe November 2010 was when it opened its doors. I'd have to check.
Makes sense. It's definitely a long time.
Yeah.
So the work is appreciated, for sure, and it's always lovely having you with us, Dad Scaper, to dive into a lot of these technical things, the backstory and history, and then again, Jeremy. I mean, you're a common guy here, but it's great to hear some of these inside information things, and yeah,
I'm always flattered to be asked, and I enjoy engaging with the community.
For sure. So I appreciate that. If there's no other thoughts about this, well, in here actually, I read some from the chat too. Hold on one moment. Okay, Marion says, "Hola amigos, hola Marion. Glad to have you on the chat." And Undamped Pick is saying, "But isn't Joe always excited that should be his well, he's always crazy and not mind shackled. Definitely not mind shackled. And
Don't believe him.
Undead
Don't
Pick
believe
is always
That's what he
saying,
would say. If he was mind shackled, he would for sure.
Yeah, if he was mind
Definitely
shackled, as a mind shackled individual, he would convince everyone he's not mind shackled. Therefore,
and Undead
Do
Pick
you know
is
what those
also-
little amulets that Kimushi gave out for the mind shackling and what they look like, so we can make one like for Joe and send it to him? And make sure everyone has
yeah,
it?
it's in the
Yeah.
webisode.
Sometime.
Like the designs in the
Yo,
webisode.
Etsy, let's get on that.
3D printing.
3D print me.
3D printing.
Okay.
Not that I need
Give me a
it,
moment.
because I'm not mind shackled.
Okay.
But
Yeah, clearly, yeah.
What we need to do is get your girlfriend to present it to you as a gift, as like.
mind shackles me, so.
Now we're talking about male to female or just any type of relationships, and we could really get into a whole kettle of fish doing that type of thing, So
We could, yes.
yes, we very much could. Let's
You have
not.
to catch me first.
Let's not.
You'll never get me.
Anyway, Undead Pig
Nice.
is also saying, are there any plans to overview some of C3V in the future? I've been into Heroscape since the beginning, but only added a couple of C3 characters to my collection and haven't looked at it in a long time. Any plans to overview? I don't know if that means like to review.
I think that's a question
Like
for you.
for the podcast. Yeah.
Oh.
For the podcast to look over.
overview.
yeah,
Yes.
VC
Okay,
stuff.
I get it now. Brain work. Yeah. Well, I mean, since we have been covering, and we're gonna cover another, I think another hero in a minute too, because we have a little bit of time. But we plan to do segments to we're covering each unit or hero card. First, it's going to be OG Heroscape, and then after we're done with OG, then we'll start doing the customs. That might take a little bit of time, but eventually we're definitely gonna get there and look and explore that for sure. So yeah. Anyway, okay. So back to this ACES segment. Yes, appreciate the information, and hopefully we'll be able to see more information on it soon. And thank you guys for doing what you do, and hopefully it becomes successful, and it'll just be another tool for people to use within the community. So appreciate it. Thank you very much, and so that is the end of that.
Yeah, thank you for
segment.
the encouragement. Thank you.
For sure.